my brethren, be strong in the Most High, and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of Yah, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to stand and withstand in the evil day. And having done all to stand, stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, take the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of the Most High Yah.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1.
Shabbat Shalom, family of the Most High Yah, and this is another Sword of the Spirit audio biblical teaching broadcast, and we are your hosts, the servants of Yah, and we'd like to once again greet everyone who has decided to listen and build with us in the word of our Father Yah and his Son Yahushua HaMashiach. We have a lot planned today, so we're going to get right into it, but before we get started, I just wanted to say I'm going to have my co-host Prina help me out a little bit more today because I had a wisdom tooth pulled yesterday afternoon, so I'm not really feeling all that well today and can't do a lot of talking, so I'm going to have her help me out today with a lot of the speaking. So with that being said, we're going to get right into today's show. But before I do that, let me bring her in so that she can say Shabbat Shalom. Prina?
Yes, Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Okay. I'm not feeling all that hot today, so I do apologize. I'm completely thrown off, but, I have an obligation to the word of the Most High, so as long as I am able to talk, I'm still pushing through today. For today's mini lesson, we're going to be discussing the dietary laws of the Most High Yah, and we're going to reveal, according to Scripture, what the Most High deems as food for human consumption. And for the state of the panel discussion, our question today is, has the church or the body of the HaMashiach, Messiah, failed to teach abstinence until marriage? And have they conformed to the world safe-sex teaching? So that's going to be our question for today. And we also have a special guest speaker. Her name is Sister Autumn Draper. She's a 21-year-old who has managed to keep herself set apart and undefiled before the Most High Yah. And she's going to share her personal testimony of how she's been able to do so within this wicked world that we live in now today. So with that being said, I had an audio clip. Satan, once again, was busy. I was not able. I've been trying all week to get the audio clip, but I'm just going to briefly speak on the audio clip that I was unable to get. It's coming from the Preachers of Detroit. And in this particular past week's episode, which was episode 5, a self-pronounced 50-year-old virgin, his name is Timothy Auden. He was invited to come to, and I'm not getting ready to call him a pastor, but David Bullock, who is a pastor here in the city of Detroit. And he invited Timothy Auden, who, again, once I said, he's a self-proclaimed 50-year-old virgin who teaches on abstinence. And he was invited to come to Pastor Bullock's church to teach on abstinence. And when he got up to speak on abstinence, he had not been up, I don't even think, 2 minutes before he was abruptly interrupted and asked to not speak at that point. He basically just cut him off. And as he cut him off, he had him pass out condoms. So he was passing out condoms. So it was kind of contradictory in his message. He had a conference for the youth, and he asked him to come and speak on abstinence, but at the same time cut him off when he spoke about abstaining from sex until marriage because that's fornication. He cut him off because he didn't want to hear anything else he said. And he said, we would like to thank, Brother Timothy Alden for coming to speak, but then he brought up someone in his congregation. I think it was, he said, this brother here, this is a 28-year-old, and he's not a teenager. So just in case, if he gets in a situation, we don't want him to be unprotected. And then he proceeded to pass out condoms in the midst of what was supposed to be a speech about, I guess, abstinence. Why? My whole thing is, why have Timothy Alden come? Why ask someone who is a 50-year-old virgin, this is a man, to come and speak about abstinence and then pass out condoms at the same time? And so while this pastor is passing out condoms and he's kind of beating on the man's chest, like, well, just in case, he gets in a situation, and then he's kind of smiling and being sarcastic. We don't want him to be left unprotected. And I really wanted to have this clip available. I did everything in my power. Normally I have no problem downloading, converting clips. And this time it just would not. It kept saying something is preventing it. But I really wanted you guys to just hear it for yourself, and I'm explaining it as best as I can. So my question to you, and I'm going to bring in Kim. Shabbat Shalom, Kim.
Shabbat Shalom. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm not feeling all that high today. My mouth is hurting a little bit while I'm even talking, but I wasn't able to get it. But the whole thing is it appropriate for the church to not only be concerned with safe sex, but is it appropriate for them to teach it? Or do you think that the church or the body as a whole has an obligation to teach what the Most High has commanded in His Word regarding sex before marriage, which is fornication? So what do you think about what I basically said about what happened on the Preachers of Detroit in that situation? What do you think the role of the body or the church is, and do you think that they should be teaching safe sex?
Not.
Or should be concerned with it at all?
Absolutely not. If they were teaching the scriptures, they wouldn't be jumping in talking about safe sex, because actually they're telling you can't abstain, so here's something else you can do if you're going to do it. And I've said that before, but then when I look at the scripture says, flee sexual immorality.
Yeah.
And you do this against your own body. He says to abstain, to your body is presented as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. He didn't tell us to compromise and say, well, if you can't control yourself, this is what you do. No, we're compromising, and we're not teaching what the Word says to do. So, no.
I mean, like, what you just said, I mean, if we really wanted to practice safe sex, y'all invented safe sex, and it's called marriage.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
That is the only, that's what safe sex is, marriage.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to have safe sex, and I mean, I'm not talking about safe from the condom break-in, safe from sexual diseases. I'm talking about safe, meaning if you do not repent, and you will be in the lake of fire.
Right.
Because He has already stated that you cannot be a fornicator and enter into the kingdom. So what Paul say, it's better for you to marry than to burn?
Yeah.
Yep. He wasn't talking about fornication against the Most High, because a lot of people say fornication doesn't mean sex. It means going against the Most High. I'm like, no. Fornication means your body is not yours. And now what you're uniting it with whores instead of presenting it unto the Most High. Oh, we're not supposed to do that. Go ahead, Prina.
Oh, no, I was just going to say also, too, in Galatians, 5:19, it talks about the works of the flesh. And, fornication is listed among them. And if anyone committing those sins were listed within them, you're not going to inherit the kingdom of Yah.
No. Here's one that's really good. 1 Corinthians 6:9 says, don't you know that whoremongers will not inherit the kingdom of Yahuwah? Do not deceive neither sexual immorals, nor idolaters or adulterers, nor men that have sex with men, any of that kind of stuff, will enter into the kingdom. So any kind of, people look at homosexuals and they get bent out of shape, but if you're fornicating, you along with them.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no safety in that either.
And I'm just gonna share too. Before I got married, I was heavily fornicating and living with my ex-husband at the time. We were, and y'all was, he was working on me to get rid of fornication, and I told him at the time when he was riding me and pulling me away from fornication. I told my ex-husband, I said, I was celebrating New Year's at the time, and I said, at the strike of midnight, if we're not married, this is it, because that was when y'all was working on me to turn back to him, and a lot of times we are so used to our flesh. When you're walking in truth, you have to learn how to remove those things that's going to be a snare before you. And at that time, he was the snare, and I gave him, a ticket, because I was not going to let my soul burn in the lake of fire because of that.
Right.
Fleshly desire that I was desiring at the time.
And it's very strong. That's why he told us to flee. He didn't tell us to walk away slowly. He didn't tell us to sit back and smile at it. He said flee fornication because it's hard to resist because it's emotions. And if you remember in Scripture, what's his name, Joseph? When that Potiphar's wife, he took butt half naked getting away from her, so he would not be away to the Most High. Ain't nobody running on. The church is compromising. They're saying it's okay. Just cover up so you don't catch AIDS. They're not worrying about your soul. They're worrying about you catching diseases, having babies, which is not nothing to about if you're married, Yeah, those are all consequences of sin. Like you said, those are all consequences of sin, having a baby, out of wedlock and getting infectious diseases. But that's, like I said, that has absolutely nothing to do with the ultimate consequence. Right. Which is being eternally separated from the Most High. He says that this, sexual sins come from the heart, because he says, for out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murder, adultery, fornication, theft. So all of these things come from your heart, and that's why he says that we must guard our heart and our mind, because this is where sin starts. It starts in your heart. Whatever it is you're meditating on, what you're spending all your time thinking on and speaking on, then eventually your flesh wants to take action of what you're consistently focusing on. And that's why he says we have to guard our heart and our mind. To renew your mind, you have to have a different mindset, a different way of thinking. Meditate on those things that are pure and that are focused on him. And see, the world continues to have you focus on fornication because it's in all the movies. Every last song you listen to on the radio, every time you turn on a television show. And I think this show, Empire, this show is heavily, not only heavily
endorsing and making it seem like it's okay to fornicate, but they're heavily endorsing homosexuality.
Yeah.
You know, do what you want.
In every area possible.
Yeah.
You know, and church folks, they think all of this stuff is okay. Well, if I keep her on the pill, you know, you're going everything the Most High said. He's not guarding you from having children. Sex was made for married people and to bring forth. So now you're stopping birth. You're stopping marriage. You're doing everything against him, you know, by using condoms. I can't believe that happened on that show, that he actually shut the man up for wanting to teach abstinence.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Bible teaches. The Bible teaches abstinence. You don't hear that anymore, though.
No, you don't.
I want to read. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
As you were talking about fleeing, where the Most High commands us to flee sexual immorality, you know, because when you're doing that, when you're fornicating, this is the only sin that where you're sinning against your own body.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, this is the only sin, because he said all the other sins in 1 Corinthians 6:18, he said all the other sins are committed outside the body. He said, but the sexual sins, when you're fornicating, this is the sin when you're sinning against your own body. And if you're supposed to be, we're the temple that he now dwells in. Y'all's not going to dwell in no temple, and you fornicating. Continuously, and you're not even trying to stop, repent, make any changes. He's not going to dwell where sin is. And something I wanted to read in Jacob 3:1-2, and it says, I now, Jacob, spoke many more things unto the people in Nephi, warning them against fornication and lasciviousness, which is sexual lewdness, and every kind of sin, telling them the awful consequences of them. So it said Jacob was warning them against fornication and telling them what the awful consequences in the world. They think, okay, well, as long as I got what they call my genie hat on, I got my condom on, I'm protecting myself. Girl, I got my pill. So they worried about preventing pregnancies and worried about preventing sexual diseases. That's what's called safe sex. But is that what's called safe sex in the eyes of the Most High Yah? Because you're fornicating, you still doesn't matter if you're protected. Okay, you had sex with her. Okay, you didn't get her pregnant. You know, you protected yourself. Nobody contracted any sexually transmitted diseases. But in the eyes of the Most High, was that really safe sex? Because like I said before, he invented safe sex and it's called marriage. So if you're not married, it's not safe. The fact that you didn't have a child or contracted disease is irrelevant.
Even if you're married, the safe sex in marriage that the Bible speaks about in the law is, if you're not trying to have any more kids because maybe you got too many, is to watch the pattern of the cycle of the husband and the wife, and there's certain times you just don't do nothing. And it's back to what it is. Even in marriage, you're not trying to have a kid right now. You go according to the scriptures and see what, you know, when to do and what not to do at certain times. Other than that, ain't no such thing as safe sex outside of marriage.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a lie that the enemy has brought up simply because he's the enemy of the air. And everybody is following his lead. He's got everybody doing what he says do, and the word is getting pushed further and further back. The church is a joke, Shatan. It's a joke.
It is. It's a joke. And that's the reason why nobody believes anything they say.
But it's time for us as parents, you know, just as parents and ourselves, you know, to train up our children in the way that they should go, you know, so they won't depart from it when they become older. You know, so we have to stop relying. You know, we have to remember we have to start relying on the churches to teach our kids and teach us things. We have to go back to the Bible and the key word, study, to show you.
Because it's right here. But if they never, it won't be down inside of them when they come up against these things. See, Joseph knew to run and to flee because
he was running.
Oh yeah. When I read that story in depth, I was like, wow, she did everything she could to get to Joseph.
Yep. But he had the word down inside of him. That's why he knew what to do. So when you don't have any,
men are not going to do that. You, a woman get naked and stripped naked in front of a man right now. He's all in. He's going to say, "Oh well, Most men are not strong enough to resist that. But if you have the word, if you're a man and you know what the word says, you're going to do what Joseph did. You're going to run. Because he realized I'm still a man at the end of the day. I'm still a man, but let me get out of here.
Right. Well, a lot of men say that the Most High made us to be that way. No, he didn't. He made you to overcome the flesh, no matter whether you're married. Tell us to give. Go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Kim. I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead.
Okay. He didn't tell us to give in because you got too hard for us. He said overcome all of that. You have to overcome the trial. So the enemy is going to put things before you. I done been caught up, okay? I done been caught up in thoughts where I'm like, oh, my goodness. And then you keep rehearsing it. Oh, if I get a chance, I know if me and him, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And you start telling yourself what to do with the opportunity instead of casting down imaginations and thoughts that set themselves against the Most High's way. Only thing left to do is do it. So you have to test it. It's in your head. First time you hear it, you say, nope, I'm not about to go there. Nope, I rebuke you in the name. You just start talking stuff and quoting scripture, and that thought will flee from you. But if you give in, you're hopeless. You're going to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
And if that's an issue for you, and if fornication is an issue for you, then you need to be fasting and praying.
Yep. Staying away from it's going to cause that.
You need to be fasting and praying, and like you said, don't put yourself in positions and in situations where you're going to fall short. If you know that it's this woman, you can't resist her, you might have to stay away from her. If you're not getting ready to get married to her, you need to go on ahead. That's what Paul said. If you can't help yourself, look, it's better to marry than to burn.
Right.
Because everybody is not going to want to be like Paul and never marry and never, be intimate with someone. And that's okay, because you don't have to. No, when he didn't say you couldn't have be in a marriage or relationship. But if you choose to be, this whole thing, how they have it set up now, the world's set up where you dating somebody for 2 or 3 years. Now they my boyfriend, it's my girlfriend. But really, in our culture, there was no long-term dating. If you knew this was getting ready to be somebody that held the qualities that were serving Yah, then, hey, you're going to get married. There was no long-term dating. Because long-term dating, you know what I'm saying, is lead to fornication.
Let's see if we work out. Well, let's have a couple of kids and see if we work out. Let's buy a house, car, and let's all of these things that married people do and see if we can be married. What?
They just playing house, and I did that.
What is that pastor that lived with that woman all them years? He was on one of the pastor shows. He lived with her and still ain't married her yet.
Oh, yeah. I know you're talking about on the Preachers of L.A.
Yes.
They've been, I think, 17 to 18 years. They've been in a relationship, but he hasn't married her, and she wants to marry him, but he likes things the way that they are. And to me, I'm not saying, because I'm not going to speak against them and say they are. They say they haven't. But, what's the point of having a girlfriend? And you're a grown man. This is a grown man, like in his probably 60s. What is the point of having a girlfriend since you've been in your 40s for almost 20 years? What is the point? Like, if you see the value in this woman and you want to be with her like this and claim her, I'm kind of in agreement with the other pastor. Put a ring on it. Otherwise, he needs to walk, because if women don't know their worth, you sit around and this man has made promises, I'm going to marry. It does not take a man a long time to know if you're wife quality, if you're the one that he wants to be with, period. I've heard many men say this. Doesn't take a long time. And if you've been in a relationship with a man 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years plus, and he still has not even brought up marriage, not thinking about marriage, but you're treating him as your husband, you're cooking for him, you're cleaning for him, you're laying down in a bed and defiling yourself every night before the Most High for a man who has not found you worthy enough to make you his wife. What are you doing?
Yeah. You're fornicating.
Yeah, that's it. He's getting his needs met, but you're not.
Yeah. Right. Not make you married, as a lot of these Israelites are trying to put that on people to say, well, once you lay down, you're automatically married.
Yeah,
no. So you got people out trick you into doing it kind of reasons. You just got to return to the word and see what the word says and live by that. And because church ain't going to save nobody, pastor is working for the enemy. So you better get in the book yourself.
That's true.
The truth. He's not going to tell you the truth. He's going to tell you what's going to keep making money.
Yeah, basically.
They make a joke about it in TV. Oh, you're still a virgin? Oh, my God. They make it like it's a disease to be pure before the Most High because the world is wicked.
Yeah.
And
it really is kind of like Noah. I feel like it is like we're in the days of Noah where everyone else is around here accepting all types of wickedness. And I'm looking like, is it me? And is something wrong with me? Because I see something wrong with this picture and everyone else and so-called believers walking around like this is normal. And I can't get with it.
Yeah.
So this is the world we're living in. So the answer, absolutely not. So the church should not be teaching safe sex, period.
No.
We're all in agreement with that.
Yeah, definitely not. There's no reason to teach that. Some people say, well, she's not going to stop, so she might as well put on a condom. You've given up. What about fasting and praying and going to the throne for your child and calling the Most High down to get them out of this stuff that they're in? They just give up and say, well, here, just put this on since you're going to go anyway. So that's that there can be abstinence because they don't even look to that direction anymore.
No.
Yeah, I would never teach that to my son. And if he and whatever consequences happen, if he decide not, I've been instilling a word in him since he was born. He came out in truth since the beginning. And if he chooses to go left from what thus says the Most High, because he definitely will know by the time he turns 18, because he knows a lot of the word now, then whatever consequences is going to be on him. You go get a baby, guess who's taking care of him? Don't come dropping them off to me. Because you go and take care of them yourself, because mommy is going to have a life, and my life is not going to center. Yes, I will love my grandchild, but my life is not getting ready to be centered around taking care of your child when you're continuing to fornicate and decide that you don't want to follow the word, then you're going to have to suffer the consequences because it's not my responsibility to keep doing that. You're supposed to be the parent, and I'm not going to keep doing it. So my son decides I don't want to, then that's going to be on him. If he gets a sexually contracted disease, then that's going to be on you. That's something you're going to have to live with, but I will not under any circumstances teach, just in case. You need you need to put on I'm not going to do that because I feel like y'all will come after me for that.
Yeah.
He's not going to hear that from me. He's going to hear you need to protect yourself because I have to stand before the Father and say, I taught him that, to flee fornication and to save himself from it. I told him what your word says. I can't stand up there and say that and then say put on a condom. Y'all going to be looking at me like, really? I call
because
this is what you do.
That's compromise.
Yeah, it's compromising, and then it's contradictory. You can't be on both sides of the fence. Abstain from fornication and sex until marriage, and then, but just in case, here's a condom. That's double-minded. He says double-minded man is unstable. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get right into today's show. Thank you, Kim, for joining us. I'll bring you in later when we get for the questions, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. So thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
So, as stated earlier, my the co-host, she's going to be helping me read some of these scriptures today because I had my wisdom tooth pulled. But so we're going to talk about what was last week's lesson. And last week's lesson, we discussed the Sabbath day. We discussed the importance as well as proof that the Most High did not change the set apart day of worship to Sunday. We also went into all the scriptures that the unlearned Christian pastors of today try and use to support the change of Yah's 7-day Sabbath to Sunday. And we went through and thoroughly explained each scripture and revealed their true meanings, and none of them, if you listen to last week's show, which was show number 6, none of them had to do with the change of Yah's seventh-day Sabbath to Sunday worship. So we're going to go ahead. If everyone can get their Bibles out and open it up to Leviticus chapter 11. Leviticus chapter 11 is where we're going to be reading from. And we're going to be discussing Yah's dietary laws today. And you can find those in Leviticus chapter 11 as well as Deuteronomy chapter 14. And we hear a lot of people say that, since our Messiah came, he nailed the law to the cross. So since he nailed the law, and the dietary laws are in the law, the first 5 books of the Bible, that we can now eat anything that we want, and that is scriptural. And so, we revealed last week in Malachi that the Most High said he changes not. And the Mashiach said he's the same as yesterday, today, and forevermore. So this leads me to my next question. Has the Most High Yah changed his mind of what he deemed as food for human consumption since the beginning? And has he now changed his mind and given us permission to now eat pork, shrimp, crab, lobster, and catfish? So we're going to go to Leviticus chapter 11, and Prina, you're going to read first verses 1 through 12. And I'm just going to kind of come in, but I don't want to, I'm trying to do as less speaking as possible because my mouth starts hurting. So, Prina, if you can start with Leviticus chapter 11 and begin reading verses 1 through 12. If I need to intervene, I'll go ahead and do that.
Okay. And Yah spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which you shall eat among in all the beasts that are on the earth. Whosoever partake of the hoof and is cloven foot and chew the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat. Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof, as the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof. He is unclean unto you. And the coney, because he chew the cud, but divideth not the hoof. He is unclean unto you.
So the coney is the coney is the beaver and the badger. So far we know that the camel, the beaver, and the badger, we are not to eat them. Okay, you can go ahead.
And in verse 6, and the hare, because he chew the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean to you.
So the hare is the rabbit.
And the swine, though he divide the hoof and be cloven, yet he cheweth not the cud. He is unclean to you.
And the swine, as most of you probably know, the swine is the pig. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And of their flesh ye shall not eat, and their carcasses shall you not touch. They are unclean to you. These shall you eat, all that are in the waters, whatsoever have fins and scales, in the waters, in the seas, in the rivers, them shall you eat.
So right now, she just got finished reading that all the things that are in the water, whatever has fins and scales, whether it be in any type of water, the sea or the river, he says, you shall not eat them. So anything that does not have fins and scales in the sea, rivers, or all the rivers that move about, and he says, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination to you. Is that the next verse?
Yes.
Go ahead and read it.
And they shall be, and I'm sorry, I'm going to read 10, and then we'll go down to 11. And all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, and of all that move in the water, and of all the living things which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination to you. They shall even be an abomination unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh, but you shall have their carcasses in abomination. Whatsoever have no fins nor scales in the water, they shall be an abomination to you.
Okay, stop right there. So, he said whatever does not have fins and scales, he says they shall be an abomination to you. So, besides the fact that we're not supposed to be eating pig, because he says swine is a pig, rabbits, I know people eat rabbits and pigs. I haven't heard too many people eating camel and beaver. I'm sure there are. But pork is unclean, plain and simple. You should not be eating pork chops, pork bacon. They have they have turkey bacon now. They have beef bacon. There are many choices. So I don't want to hear I love bacon. Eat a different type of bacon. Mm-hmm. And make sure that it does not say pork casing on it, because they try to be slick now and they'll have bacon or beef, but then it'll be in pork casing, meaning it's cased with pork. Make sure you're paying very close attention. But he says that all the things that are in the water that have fins and scales, if they don't have fins and scales, catfish have fins, okay, but catfish do not have scales. So catfish is an abomination, and catfish have periods. So that's another thing that makes them unclean. Catfish have periods, like women. They menstruate. Catfish is unclean. Crabs do not have scales and fins. Stop eating crab legs. Lobster does not have scales and fin, and a lobster is nothing but a large roach. It's in the same family as a roach. It's in the arthropod family. Look it up and do the research. When you're eating lobster and you crack it open and you think that's white meat, no, that's boiled pus. They boil it, the pus, and then it comes out looking frothy like meat. So if you say, oh, I wouldn't pick up a roach and eat it, if you're eating a lobster, you're eating a roach. It's the same thing, plain and simple. Shrimp is in the roach family too. Shrimp do not have scales and fins. People will say, well, it doesn't say, and I'm getting ready to argue, it doesn't say, well, shrimp, you can't eat shrimp. It doesn't say you can't eat lobster. It doesn't say you can't eat crab. He just said anything, okay? That's why y'all cover things, because he know that someone's always trying to look for a shaded gray area, a loophole, just like those who sit on the fence and try to be lukewarm and think they're going to, quote, unquote, play it safe. I'm not going to be hot or cold. He said, I wish you were either hot or cold, but because you're lukewarm, meaning you're sitting in the middle, playing it safe, not taking a stand one way or the other, he said, I'm going to spew you out my mouth too. So there is no such thing as playing it safe. There is no such thing as, oh, well, it doesn't say that, oh, well, I'm not really gay, I'm metrosexual. That's being effeminate. And guess what? The Most High got you covered too, because he says no effeminate person will make it into the kingdom either. So if you trying to act like one, or well, I ain't had sex with I haven't had intercourse with someone of the same sex, but you putting on women's clothes, guess what? You're in the category of being effeminate, and he says that they will not make it into the kingdom either. So please do not play around. I've heard people say, well, he's not going to send me to hell for a pork chop. Okay, you getting ready to find out later on that there are going to be people that's going to be destroyed for thinking they hadn't eaten pork, and he's going to catch them. Mm-hmm. So eating pork will send you to the lake of fire. Don't play around and eat a pork chop and then die choking on it, because that's going to be the last thing you eat, and you're going to stand before him with abominable things in your vessel. So he says that these shall be an abomination unto you. something that's an abomination is something that is highly detestable, something that you absolutely hate. So when I'm in the supermarket and I look at pork, I get detested. When I can't stand it. Someone's around me with shrimp, and I could smell the uncleanness coming off. It almost made me, literally, and I'm telling you the truth, almost made me. They had it in the bag, and it almost literally made me vomit just smelling it. It smelled unclean. I used to eat shrimp before I came into the truth 11 years ago. I haven't eaten any unclean foods since then. I used to eat catfish before I came into the truth 11 years ago, but as soon as I found out it was unclean, when I found out that pork have worms in it that never die and that they don't have pores and they don't even sweat, these animals and these types of things, these animals that he say that we're not supposed to eat, they are earthly vacuum cleaners. Would you take open zip down the bag of your vacuum cleaner with all the dirt and dust that you have, that it has contracted within it, and then eat it? Eat everything that's in there. Because that's what you're doing, is eating waste. They all have their purpose, and I'm going to wait until I get to the scripture. Those animals he created, clean animals and unclean animals, they all have their purpose. But there are only specific foods that he has mapped out for us in Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy chapter 14 that are for human consumption. And everything else, it doesn't matter if it tastes good. Have you noticed that Satan makes sure that everything that's bad for you feels good, tastes good, looks good? Christmas looks good. Got the pretty lights, got the pretty wrapping for the gifts. You got the beautiful music, chestnut roasting on an open fire. You feeling all good. You got that Christmas spirit on you. Everything sounds great. Everything looks great. Poison can look great if you bake it in a cake and put some frosty icing on it. You ain't going to know you're going to pass out until it get in your system. Then when you're on the floor, you be wondering what happened. It looked good, but hey, now you over here vomiting. How many of you sat down and had food poisoning? You had that meal put in front of you. It looked good. You ate it, and after you consumed it, now you headed to the toilet, or they got to pump your stomach out. The Most High is telling us these things are not for us. This is why so many people are ridden with diseases. These meats are dangerous. These animals that he's deemed as unclean for human consumption, he said it should be an abomination. Why? Because something that is an abomination is a defilement. It's something that defiles you. It makes you unclean. And if you're putting defiled things in your body, then this is why you're suffering from many ailments like cancer, liver disease, high blood pressure, and all these things. Why people suffer from all these things? Our people eat probably all this pork. And, of course, we're going to suffer more for eating pork and shrimp, crabs, and lobster than everybody else because we're the chosen people. The Most High said all of these things, pork, catfish, crabs, lobsters, shrimp, frog legs, rabbit, whatever. He said they shall be an abomination to you. And Prina, did you want to talk about? You mentioned something about hybrid. Something you wanted to make note of.
Yes, I just wanted to make note of like tilapia. That's a hybrid fish. They've been breeding those, and certain salmons you have to be careful of. They tell you to stay away from farm raised species.
Yeah, they do.
With the wild catch. And also, I was going to say, they have the stores now with the halibut and the flounders, and I think it's called swahi. This fish is SWAI. That's a catfish. That's a form.
What is it? Say that again. Repeat that again.
SWAI. It's a form. It's a catfish.
Well, so they don't change the name on it?
No, it's a species of a catfish.
Wow.
But, you know, and I'm just going to say this. If you don't know, because I don't know everything about all the fish that's in these markets, but one thing I can say is, look, if you're not sure, Google it. The anatomy of the fish. If it don't specify the scales and the fins, and they both together, then you need to stay clearly away from it.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're coming up with so many names of the different foods and different fish and things of that. At the end of the day, like my sister just said, Google it. Find out first. You know, Google it and find out. And if that fish or whatever it is, and if it doesn't say it has, and it has to have both. So a lot of people, it has scales, but it doesn't have fins, or it has fins, but it doesn't have scales. It has to have scales and fins. So thank you, Prina, for that.
You're welcome.
But Genesis chapter 2, and let me go back. So just going back to the end of that, it says this is the law of the beast. So this is a law. This is not something that we're just making up. The Most High said in the end of this chapter 11, it says, this is the law of the beast and of the fowl and of every living creature that moves in the water and every creature that moves on the earth. So whether the creature be on the earth or not on the earth, does it talk about the birds, Prina, going into some of the other ones? Read some of those.
Yes, that's chapter, that's 13, verse 13. It says, and these are they which you shall have and these are they which you shall have an abomination among the fowls. They shall not be eaten. They are an abomination. The eagle, the osprey,
ostrich,
and the osprey, and the vulture, and the kite after his kind, and every raven after his kind, and the owl, and the nighthawk, and the I think it's called cuckoo, cuckoo, and the hawk after his kind, and the little owl, and the cormorant, and the great owl, the swan, and the pelican, and the gyre, the eagle, and the stork, and the heron after her kind, and the lapwing, and the bat, all the fowls that creep, going upon all flour, shall be an abomination. Upon all four, shall be an abomination unto you. Yet these may ye eat of every flying, creeping thing that goeth upon all four, which have legs above their feet, to leap with upon the earth. Even these of them may you eat. The locust after his kind, and the barred locust after his kind, and the beetles after his kind, and the grasshopper after his kind. But all other flying, creeping things which have 4 feet shall be an abomination unto you, and these shall be unclean. Whosoever touches the carcass of them shall be unclean until evening.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're going to go in a little bit more. So Genesis chapter 7, if you can just quickly go to Genesis chapter 7, 1 through 2. If not, you can just hear from me. We're going to go to the beginning. I'm just going to read verses 1 and 2. And it says, and Yah said unto Noah, come thou and all thy house into the ark. For thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by 7, the male and his female, and of beasts that are not clean by 2, the male and his female. So when Noah was given a command by the Most High to enter into the ark, he was getting ready to destroy this wicked earth. He was commanded to take clean beasts by 7, male and female. Notice he didn't say male and male or female and female. This for procreation. Two of the same sex cannot procreate. Had to throw that in there. So he says, take to thee by 7, male and female, okay, of these that are not clean by 2, and these that are not clean by 2, the male and female. So there were more that were taken by 7 that were clean, male and female, than there were beasts that were not clean, male and female. And I hear people say all the time, well, they read this and they say, oh, well, he made all things to be received with thanksgiving. But did y'all make pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster to be made with thanksgiving? Does he really care what we eat? Isaiah 65, if you are listening and you have your Bible, I want you to go to Isaiah chapter 65 and verse 2 through 6. Because this speaks of a future prophecy of what will happen to someone who's going to be eating pork behind a tree thinking that he's hiding from Yah. And they're going to be destroyed. I was speaking about this earlier. Isaiah chapter 65, verses 2 through 6. He says, I have spread out my hands all the day unto a rebellious people, which walketh in a way that was not good, after their own thoughts. A people that provoketh me to anger continuously to my face, that sacrifice in gardens and burn incense upon altars of brick, which remain among the graves and lodge in the monuments, which eat swine flesh. I'm going to repeat that again. Which eat swine's flesh, which eat pig's flesh, pork flesh. He says, and broth of abominable things is in their vessels. So the Most High said, abominable things are in their vessels. He said, which say, stand by thyself. Don't come near me, for I am holier than thou. So the Most High said, look, these people are hypocrites. He said, I have spread out my hands to these rebellious people. I've given them my law. I've told them what they can and can't eat. They continuously provoking me to anger, still doing whatever they want, being lost in their monuments. And he says they're still eating pork with abominable things in their vessels. But yet you over here come out, don't come near me. We see these people in the church all the time. I'm holier than thou. But you just got finished having a pork dinner. How many churches do you know, Christian churches, have services afterwards and they're serving pork and ham after the services? I know because I used to be in the church, and when I was eating pork, I was there. So I know all about it. I know that it goes on. So these are people who are saying, don't come near me. I'm holier than thou. They probably got the church attire on, got the big church hat, got their Bible up in their arms, dressed to the floor. They look holier than thou, quoting scriptures every 5 minutes, but don't come near me because I'm holier than thou, but you're getting ready to sit down and have a pork dinner. The Most High is saying these are people who say they holier than thou, but they got abominable things. He said, this is provoking me to anger, to my face. And if you go down to Isaiah 66, if you go over one chapter, Isaiah 66, verses 16 and 17, Isaiah 66, verse 16 and 17, we read here that the prophet Isaiah shows us what's going to be the end result for those who continue to eat pork and think that they're going to be able to hide. And this is a future prophecy. In verse 16 says, for with fire and by his sword will Yah plead with all flesh. Okay, this is when we're going to be in the wilderness. There's still going to be rebellious Israelites in the wilderness, and they got to pass through the rod. He says, Yah is going to plead with all flesh, okay? And the slain of Yah shall be many. So he said there's going to be many that are going to be slain before him. He says, who are they? They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in their gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, eating pig, eating pork. He says, and the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together. So they're going to be destroyed. There's going to be someone hiding behind the tree, thinking that Yah does not see them eating pork. And he says, I'm going to destroy them and the mouse together. So keep playing around with Yah and keep thinking that pork will not send you to the lake of fire. This is part of his law. What is sin? 1 John 3 and 4. Sin is the transgression of the law. Clearly, Yah says that he is going to destroy all of those that will not come into conformity with his law. And in the book of Revelation, we read in Revelation 21:27, he says, there shall in no way enter anything that defiles, whatsoever worketh abomination or makes a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's book of life. So he says nobody's going to enter into the kingdom, anything that defiles it. Did we just not read that he tells you that pork shall be an abomination? He says, and what else not going to get in there? Neither anything that works an abomination. He said that these things shall be an abomination. All those foods that I just told you, you go back and read it for yourself. Read the entire chapter of Leviticus chapter 11 and Deuteronomy chapter 14. These are an abomination and they defile you. He said it. He said they're not going to enter in. He said only them that are written in the Lamb's book of life. This is at the end, Revelation 21. And then when people call out, oh, I'm a true prophet. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 22, verses 25 through 28. Since you say you a true prophet, this is what a true prophet of the Most High Yah is going to teach his people. Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 25 through 28. And I want you to follow along because I like for people to actually read along with me. A true prophet of Yah teaches the difference between holy and unholy, meaning set apart and not being set apart, clean and unclean, and they teach you the truth about the Sabbath. Let's read it. Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 25 through 28. There is a conspiracy of her prophets in the midst thereof, like a roaring lion ravening the prey. They have devoured souls. They have taken the treasure and precious things. They have made her many widows in the midst thereof. Her priests have violated my law. The first thing the Most High says here is her priests. Who are the priests of the earth? The children of Israel. And the law was given to the ruling tribe, Judah. He says they have violated the law and have profaned my holy things, my set-apart things. How have the preachers, we're supposed to be the priests of the earth. We're supposed to be the ones that the children of Israel are supposed to be. He gave a law unto us. This is our book. So we're supposed to be showing the other nations, if they choose to serve the Most High, how they're to serve him, because he's holding us accountable. We're the ones that made a covenant with him. He says her priests have violated my law. How have they violated the law? Let's see what the Most High says. He says they have put no difference. That means they ain't made no difference between the holy, that which is set apart, and the profane. They have not made a difference between that which is set apart and that is not. Neither have they showed a difference between the clean, the unclean, and the clean. And they have hid my people's eyes from my Sabbath. And he says, I am profane among them. The Most High is profaned among his own people. They don't even want him because these pastors, and I'm talking about these Israelite pastors, those who do not know that they're the chosen ones, they're violating the law every time they get up and teach Sunday worship and tell their people that you don't have to keep the Sabbath. The Most High said they do not make a difference between what is set apart and what is not. What is righteousness and what is unrighteousness. He said neither have they showed the difference between what's unclean and what's clean. Our people don't know what's clean and what's unclean because the pastors are telling them that you can eat anything you want because Jesus died on the cross. That's a lie. And the main thing, he says, you have hidden their eyes from my Sabbath. You're not telling them when my set-apart day of worship is, the seventh-day Sabbath from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. You're telling them that Sunday is now my day. When I made it plain and clear in Genesis chapter 2 that my day is the seventh-day Sabbath. So if you are not teaching the laws of the Most High, teaching them what is set apart and what is not set apart, if you're not teaching them the difference between what is clean and unclean, and if you are not teaching people to keep a seventh-day Sabbath, you are not a prophet or a priest or a pastor or a bishop or whatever you want to call yourself of the Most High. He said, I didn't send them. Because a true prophet and a true priest or minister of the Most High is going to teach the difference between holy and unholy, clean and unclean, and they're going to teach them about the true Sabbath of the Most High. And that is not what we're seeing in the churches today. We are the temple that Yah dwells in. 1 Corinthians 3:16 and 17 says, don't you know that you are the temple of Yah? We're not talking about no church building. We are the building that is set apart spirit lives in. He says, don't you know that you are the temple of Yah and that the spirit of Yah dwells in you? He says, and if any man defiles the temple of Yah, Yah shall destroy him. For the temple of Yah is set apart. He says, so which temple you are? He says, you are my temple. So if you're defiling yourself by fornicating, if you're defiling yourself by eating those things that he has said is not food, I don't care what your pastor have told you. If you're not doing those things, you're defiling the temple where the Most High is supposed to reside. That's why it says that when a demon goes out of a man, that you got to have Yah's spirit in you, because if Yah's spirit is not in you, then when the demon, he goes to roam out, and then when he can't find a place to go, he's going to come back to what he knows. He comes back to you, and he sees that your house is empty. If your house is empty, that means that the spirit of Yah is not dwelling in you, because you're walking in disobedience, because Yah cannot dwell in a place where sin resides. So that demon says, I left. They cast me out, but let me come back. Oh, he's still fornicating. He's still eating pork. He's still breaking the law. This house is empty, because Yah's spirit would clearly dwell and fill up this temple, but I don't see Yah's spirit here. So let me come on back here, and then I'm going to bring 7 more demons that's stronger than me, and we're going to make sure this time that he's not going to ever be able to kick us off, because we're going to be stronger than we were before. This is the conversation that demons have, because we're dealing with spiritual wickedness in high places, darkness that Ephesians 6 speak about that we can't even imagine. We just can't see it going on. He's not going to abide in you if you're not abiding in him. So quickly, I'm going to break down. There's 3 scriptures that people like to use to say that it is now okay for us to eat unclean food. So I'm going to explain those quickly. If everyone can go to Mark 7 and 14. Well, no, not that one first. Let me go. No, I don't want to do Mark first. The first one I'm going to go to is Romans 14 and 4. Romans 14 and 4. And at the end of this lesson, I'm going to give our email address for anyone who wants a written copy, a list of clean and unclean foods, as well as a list of products that carry pork derivatives in them. And at the end of this lesson, I'll talk about that. But Romans 14 and 4, because these scriptures that I'm getting ready to just briefly explain are currently being used as reasons why the dietary laws are no longer in effect. So we got to have greater understanding. Romans 14 and 4 says, and then they always try to use Paul, and I'm just, people need to stay away from Paul if you don't know the law. Romans 14 and 14 says, I know and am persuaded by Yeshua, the Messiah, that there is nothing clean of itself. There is nothing unclean of itself, but to him that esteemeth anything to be unclean, to him it is unclean. So, when you read this, is y'all allocating freedom from the dietary laws? I'm going to read it again. I know, this is Paul, and I am persuaded by Yeshua, the Messiah, that there is nothing unclean of itself. So people say, well, there's nothing unclean. Paul said in Romans 14 and 4 that there's nothing unclean of itself. So whatever you esteem or deem as unclean, then it's unclean to you. But this pork is not unclean to me, so it's not unclean. So at first glance, without inserting the quote in its context, I can see how someone can easily read this and come to that understanding. However, if we go further, we will find out what Paul is really saying. We got to read precepts. Precepts are intended to guide the way that you think and the way you act. And if what you're reading in the New Testament contradicts what the law says, the first 5 books of the Bible, then you need to know that your understanding is off. Deuteronomy 4 and 2 says, you shall not add unto the Most High's words, neither shall you diminish from them, that you may keep the commandments of the Most High Yah, which I command you. He says, verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot nor tittle in no way shall pass from the law. Matthew 5:18. Romans 7 and 12, wherefore the law is set apart and the commandments set apart in just and good. 2 Timothy 3:16, all scripture is given by inspiration of Yah and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, and instruction in righteousness. At creation, we were instructed to eat herbs yielding seed. And after the fall, meat was added to the diet of mankind. However, at Sinai, we were permitted to eat only certain meats, and we've already gone over that. Okay? We've already gone over that. I'm not getting ready to reread the Leviticus 11. When we look at that quote again, I'm going to go up and read verse 13. He says, let us not therefore judge one another, because this is another thing, though. You can't judge me. Let us therefore not judge one another anymore, but judge this rather, that no man put a stumbling block or an occasion to fall in his brother's way. I know and am persuaded by Yeshua that there is nothing unclean of itself, but to him that esteemeth anything to be unclean, to him it is unclean. But if thou, brother, be grieved with thy meat, now walkest thou not charitably, destroying not him with thy meat, for whom the Messiah died. So he's not the person who is strong in faith. who knows that there are no other gods, understand that nothing in itself, nothing is unclean of itself. What the Creator has called clean is clean. However, to those who are weak in the faith, and they're just coming out of this religious system where there were many gods or many powers, eating whatever you can eat, maybe you might be eating, maybe they need to be a vegetarian. Now, if you choose to abstain from meat, then that's fine. But if someone is new in the walk, you don't want to be a stumbling block to them if you invite them over. I'm going to use an example. You invite them over to your house, okay? You know that they don't eat meat, okay? But if you know that this person is weak in the faith, and even if they want to abstain from eating clean meat, meaning if you eating clean meat is going to offend your brother who may be weaker in the faith, and I'm trying to say this so I don't confuse anybody, then you need not do so. I can wait until I get home to eat chicken. Okay. It's not a sin that this person doesn't want to eat chicken. Chicken is not unclean. We know that. Okay. There's certain fish that we can eat that have scales and sin. But if it's going to cause my brother who has decided that, you know what, I just don't want to eat any meat, if it's going to offend them and I'm trying to win them and bring them in the faith, I can wait until I get home to eat chicken. If it's going to be a stumbling block to him or her that I'm trying to bring in the faith, then I need to stay away. Everything that the Most High created by the Father is good. There is nothing wrong with pigs, lobsters, vultures. All these animals were created, crabs, but they were created with a purpose. Listen again. Don't go and say, oh, we was listening to the Florida Spirit. They told us there's nothing wrong with crab, shrimp, and lobster, pigs. No, they're not. There's nothing wrong with them. Everything that the Most High did create is good. Everything he created, he said, and it was good in the beginning. There's nothing wrong with pigs and lobster and shrimp and crab. But Yah designated these animals as unclean, meaning they are unacceptable as food for his covenant people. It's not that the pig is unclean. It is we who become unclean if we eat it, because he did not deem pig for human consumption. Crabs and lobster were meant to clean up the ocean. They're bottom feeders. This is why our waters are no longer clean. Because we're eating the creatures that the Most High created specifically for that purpose only. Same thing, but those things that he has food. Those things that he has deemed as food, it's okay to eat those things. Pigs were created for the land. They're vacuum cleaners. So when you hear that, everything he made was good, yes, it was good for the purpose that it was created for. Let's go to the next scripture, Mark chapter 7:14, where it says, there is nothing from without a man that enters him that can defile him, but the thing which comes out of him, those are they that defile him. I read it again, Mark 7:14. There is nothing from without a man that entering into him can defile him. So, but the things which come out of him, those are they that defile him. So people use this. Is Yeshua saying that nothing that you eat can defile you? No. Filth on clothes and the skin are not as bad as filth in the stomach. Still worse is the filth that is in your mind. Again, unclean animals and birds symbolize the enemy. Those unbelieving followers, such as unclean animals or clean animals, represent and symbolize the Most High. Knowingly eating unclean food is insulting. It's blatant disobedience. And in Mark chapter 7, Yeshua is basically addressing the question about why his disciples ate without washing their hands according to the ceremonial traditions that were followed by the Pharisees. That's all this is talking about. The Pharisees were coming down on them because he said they weren't washing their hands. The Pharisees, they have all these things that you have to do before you eat. Or if you cut on the light switch, you break in the Sabbath. So they were coming down on his disciples because they were getting ready to eat without washing their hands. And Yeshua's point was basically that orally ingested dirt does not spiritually defile a person, since it does not enter into the heart to influence the person. Dirt can pass through the digestive tract and then it's eliminated. What's being discussed in this chapter has absolutely nothing to do with clean and unclean meat. It has nothing to do with the dietary laws. That's not what's being discussed in this chapter. Absolutely not. The last scripture is Acts 10:9-16. On the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew near to the city, Peter went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour, and he became very hungry and would have eaten. But while they made ready, he fell in a trance and saw heaven open and a certain vessel descending upon him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the four corners and let down to the earth, wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth and wild beasts and creeping things and fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, saying, Rise, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, Not so, Yah, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. And the voice spoke unto him again the second time, What Yah has cleansed, that thou shalt not call common. This was done 3 times, and the vessel was received up again into heaven. So when you read this, and this is amazing, a lot of people try to use Acts 10 to say that Peter, was told that now 4-legged beasts are okay for consumption, and once again that the dietary laws are no more in consumption. This year, I'm going to go into it briefly, but this is a little bit greater than what people think. What has been taught that he was bringing in the Gentile nations, and I don't want to get off into this, but it was more so of him bringing in the Israelite strangers and opening up the door. I'm trying to explain this without confusing you, because this is a whole nother lesson, Acts 10. But Peter was given a vision to help him understand Yah's future plans for the Israelite strangers that were going to be coming back. He was shown a group of unclean animals and told 3 times to eat. And he declined because he knew that it's four-footed beast, and he knew the law. Peter knew what the law said. That's why he refused to eat any unclean animals that was being shown to him. And so when people read this, they're saying that Peter supposedly heard Yeshua abolish the dietary laws, and now we can eat pork, shrimp, and crab and lobster. And so even still, he knew that eating unclean meat was wrong. And he was puzzled over the meaning until 3 Gentile men came knocking at his door with a request to hear the good news. And normally Peter would not have associated with these men who were outside of the covenant community, because these Gentiles were considered to be unclean, or what they call common. Now, when, finally the pieces were put together, he said, Yah has shown me that I should not call any man common or unclean. And he perceived that Yah intended that the good news was also to go to the Gentiles. Now, I'm still trying to go into this without confusing anybody, because the Most High has brought me into more truth even since I even read this last year. But this chapter is talking about the Most High allowing his people, Hosea, his people that were not his people, that would soon be his people again. This is, again, not talking about the dietary laws. I can't go into this more than that, because if I do, I'm going to be going off into something more than what I want. This passage, again, is not talking about lifting or the benefits that the Most High had on eating unclean animals like reptiles, dogs, cat, mice, shellfish, lobster. These are things that still should not be eaten. I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to bring Prina in. And Prina, you know why, and I'm going to bring Kim in. I cannot, Prina and Kim?
Yeah.
I can't really go into this, because you already know this is going to take me into the whole lesson of who are the Gentiles. Because people try to use this to say, oh, he's bringing in a whole new people. Kim, you got something you want to say on this? Kim?
Sorry, I'm over here talking on mute.
Again.
Yes, again. He saw that vision, and the vision wasn't about making unclean meat clean, because it wasn't about vision. That's why I kept saying a vision. It was a vision to show that he was reuniting the northern and southern kingdoms back together, and they were considered unclean, and he's now making them clean. They were divided and they were unclean, and he showed them that the vision was about bringing in another people, which were still the same people, but they had been excommunicated. And so when people read that, they stop at rise, see, to kill, and eat.
Yeah.
That's what they stop at, and say, oh, what thou hast called unclean, don't let no man call unclean. And he's like, they stop there and say, so everything is clean. Jesus did it on the cross. Now we can eat. No, that's not what that's talking about at all.
No. Because I was trying my best to explain that without getting, because it's kind of hard to do it without getting into that whole, you really have to go into explaining it, but like you said, it has actually nothing to do with food, but because people do not understand who the New Testament or those who are being grafted in,
that's right,
those grafted in Gentiles, it's kind of hard to even understand that piece right there, that vision and what that Peter's vision is really about, if you do not even understand who's being grafted in, because it's not about, like you said, it's not about food, and it's not even about him grafting in Gentile heathen nations, but it's about taking back those that were his people, that he said they were not going to be a people, but now are going to be a people again, because once they were not his people, they were considered to be unclean. They weren't set apart unto the Most High anymore, but he's given a future prophecy of these people that he's going to take back again, and the whole symbolism of the unclean beast that Peter was seeing was this to help him have that understanding of, okay, unclean beasts, they're not set apart, and we don't have any relationship with him. So, it's in essence, Peter was realizing, okay, I understand and I abide by the dietary laws. I can't eat this. Because thus says the Most High, this is what your law says, that this is unclean, but it was a symbolism. It had absolutely nothing to do with food. It was just like you said.
It was just like now, because they knew that they could not eat with Gentiles or the Northern Kingdom. They were totally separated, two different nations at that point, and it was really frowned upon to even eat with them. So it was just the same as being eating unclean beasts. You know that you eat unclean beasts. But the Most High was doing a new thing. He was bringing them back. So that was what was being torn down, was the partition between the two nations. And not the animals, but it was a parallel of showing that the same mindset. I can't do this. I can't eat unclean meat. I can't eat with these Gentiles. And the Most High wanted him to see what he was doing. It had nothing to do with food.
No.
Nothing to do with non-food.
Right. No, not at all. I was trying, and I'm like, I'm not going to, because I'm like, I didn't want to get off into the whole lesson, but, that was it in a nutshell, because it was kind of hard to explain it without getting off into it. And then if you don't have that understanding, it's almost like you need to watch our videos to just even have that. If you don't have that understanding of who the grafted in Gentiles of the New Testament are.
You need to watch that, Yeah,
they need to watch that. If you haven't seen that, then you're not going to even understand Peter's dream. His vision of what's being truly said here. But we're gonna bring in our guest today. For those of you who are listening, today is Youth Day. Today is Youth Day. So if you have young adolescent children, if you have especially teenagers, this is the time when you want to bring them in, allow them to listen, put your phone on speaker. Because we have, her name is Sister Autumn Draper, and she is, I have to, I know no other young woman. She's 21 years old, and I know no other young woman that's like her. True daughter of Yah, the Most High Yah. I'm 21 years old. Has kept herself set apart and undefiled. The woman just very mature for her age. Ever since I've known her, she's just been mature, carries herself like a lady at all times. Beautiful inside as well as out. And I have so much respect for her and how she carries herself. I'm always talking about her to other youth and other people about her, because I don't know too many young just women, even when she was a teenager, she was in high school, that are not fornicating. Had a boyfriend, was not fornicating, not engaging and, in sexual intercourse. And I used to talk to her and ask her questions. She used to tell me about she didn't really talk to the girls at her school because they were loose. They were wild, sleeping around, doing all kinds of things. And she kind of stayed away from that. And I'm just going to bring her in and allow her to speak. And she's going to come in today. She's speaking and representing all the youth. And, I want to have her on here because it can be done. And, and praises, to her mom because, for raising, a daughter like this, completely embracing the truth, wholeheartedly embracing the truth, has become strong. I've watched her grow in this
She teaches with us now.
Yeah, she teaches with us in the conferences. I mean, she is a very strong teacher. I see me and her when I hear her teach, and I know that y'all has a calling on her. And I just watched her grow over the years in His Word, and I'm very proud of her. And I'm going to go ahead and just have her come on because I'm getting kind of emotional because it's just, you know, I really have a lot of respect for her. I truly do. So I call her my Audie. So Autumn Draper, take the floor. Prina, is she on your line?
No, she's on her line.
Okay, because I wanted her to actually call in with the host code so that people can ask questions. So she can call, hang up, and call back in and give her the host code. While she's doing that, I want her to call in on the host line. Kim, do you have anything to say about Autumn?
Oh, my God. I just love her. I always have. I mean, she's so tall, and you know, from the world standards, they would be trying to drag her into being a model and trying to making her something else. But she's always stood out, and she's always just been such a delight to see that, you know, somebody that young is strong enough to take a stand the way peer pressure is, the way people, you know, are pushing so much of this foolishness to be able to stand up and say, well, I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to be set up at such a young age. Is refreshing because I don't know any you know, around me that's like that, you know, that will take a stand for the thing that's not so popular, you know. And I saw her grow up, and since she was really little, you know, little bitty young thing, and now she's a grown adult woman and continuing on in the ways of the Most High, teaching. Man, by the time she's our age, she's going to be something else, you know. And I mean, I really love the path that she's on. I wish I could have done that at an early age too. It would have been really, really something great to, you know, continue that way. You avoid a bunch of problems when you continue to stay in the bosom of the Most High.
Yeah, you know? And that's so true. And she's, you know, she knows that you're not about she'll tell the guy to kick it right.
That's right. That's right. You avoid a lot of heartache, soul ties, problems, all kinds of things. She's here?
Shatan?
Yes.
Calling in is giving her a hard time. I'm gonna hand her my phone.
Okay, well let her just go ahead on yours. Okay.
Autumn?
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, this is Autumn, so I'll let you introduce yourself and go right in. Shabbat Shalom, thank you for joining us today, coming on, representing for the youth. And so go ahead.
Okay, so a little how I came into truth. Like, I grew up in a Christian household. However, around 2008, when I was around 13, 14 years, when I started learning the truth. And during that, she was back on church. My mom is Prina. And this made her look at her life and in the direction in which she was heading, but not only her, but the direction that she was leading us in, especially if those were to be her last moments, to make sure that she's on the right path. So I remember during this time when she came to my siblings and I, and she told us that we weren't going to be celebrating holidays and birthdays, and she was able to give us full detail as to why. But what she was able to explain to us, I accepted it, and I did question it because I trust my mother, and I know that she has.
Hold on, is your phone? I think your phone is breaking up a little bit.
Breaking up a lot.
It's breaking up. We can't hear your testimony. It's breaking up.
Can you hear me better?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, like I was saying, she wasn't really able to explain to us why we weren't going to be able to celebrate birthdays and holidays in full detail, but what she was able to explain to us, I accepted it and I didn't question it because I trusted my mother and I knew that she always had our best interest in mind. But as she started to learn truth, she shared it with us. And we eventually started going to the Kingdom of God. And this is where I met Shaitan and Kim. But we eventually left because they weren't teaching full truth. And we all eventually, Shaitan, my mother, my grandmother, myself, and other brothers and sisters in truth, we started to study and fellowship at the library. And although when we first changed, although I didn't have a choice because, I was living in my mother's household and under her rules, I can say that this is the best decision that she has made for me. So just coming into the knowledge of the truth, I can say it has done so much and has completely.
Please don't.
It completely changed my outlook on life in general. Because growing up, I've always felt lost, and I did not know why. But after giving it so much thought, I realized that it was because we learn about everybody's history but our own. Black History Month is no exception. February is the shortest month of the year, and we learn about the same thing over and over again. Carver invented peanut butter. Madam C.J. Walker invented the hot comb. Rosa Parks didn't give up her seat. But this does not tell us anything about who we were before slavery, before we were in America, before we were brought here as slaves, before we were given a name African American. I know that there has been plenty of so-called African Americans who have done great things here in America, but it does not tell us of who we are or where we come from. Black History Month does not tell the in-depth history of a lost people. It's like, growing up and you don't know who your family is. You don't know anything about your culture, where you come from. But you have succeeded in life, but although you succeed and you overcome your struggles, you are still lost because you don't know who you are. You don't know where you come from. So when I came into truth, I can honestly say that I found myself and I found my purpose. And I'm always thanking the Most High for just opening up my eyes to see His truth, opening up my ears so that I can hear it and giving me a heart to receive it.
Hallelujah.
And I forever thank Him also for blessing me with wonderful, strong role models. My mother, my grandmother, Shaitan, and Kim, all these women have helped me to become the woman that I am today.
Oh, Lord.
You got me over here crying. Yeah, I'm especially hosting this show.
I'm crying too. Oh, my God. That's so beautiful. Oh. Hallelujah. Praise the Most High.
But throughout it all, I have been able to keep myself pure by just knowing who I am, knowing what I believe, why I believe it, and standing by it. You have to stand by what you believe and not just say it, but do it. And I think that's what a lot of people fail to realize. A lot of people say what they believe, but they don't stand by it. They compromise, and they allow what other people think to ultimately influence what it is that they do. And that's another thing. You have to surround yourself with people who are of a like mind. That's why I don't have a lot of friends, because a lot of people don't believe what I believe. And I'm not even just talking about, being Hebrew Israelite, but just having self-respect. A lot of these girls don't have self-respect. They don't know their worth. And I cannot surround myself around people like that. So I don't have a lot of friends, and that's okay with me, because my best friend, honestly, is my mom.
All right.
And not only you have to set boundaries. When I was in a relationship, we were together for 4 years. And when we first started dating, I was around 16 years old. And before we started dating, I told him what it is that I believed, and that, I don't believe in sex before marriage, and that I was keeping myself pure until marriage. And I can honestly say that he respected that, and he supported me with that. And he also is a virgin. So that made it easier for the both of us. And, just, and if they don't support that, if they can't respect that, then you don't need to be with that person.
That's right.
And honestly, we aren't together as of currently. And that's because, honestly, after 4 years of being together, you know if that person is for you or not. And I honestly do feel like he is, but as of currently, we are not in a position to pursue marriage. And so we both felt like in order to prevent anything from happening, that it would be better that we are together and to work toward marriage and establishing ourselves so that we can get married than to sin against the Most High. So you really have to stand by what it is that you believe. You cannot compromise for anybody. And also, you have to be really conscious of what it is that you allow to entertain you, what it is that you watch, what it is that you listen to, what it is that you read. A lot of these shows and a lot of this music that you hear is all about sex, drugs, money. And you have to realize that what you watch, listen to, read, it influences the way that you think. It influences your emotion, your mood, and ultimately how it is that you behave. Just like food influences your overall health. If you're putting junk in your body, you're going to have all types of sicknesses and diseases. If you are allowing all these unclean things to enter your mind, then that's ultimately what's going to come out. And also just removing yourself from temptation and not even putting yourself in a position to be tempted. You have to know when to walk away. So if somebody is, in your ear about something, let's say you go to a party and some guy rubbing up on you, you have to know how to walk away and say no. So just remove yourself and just staying away from temptation. That is what really has, those things is what really has helped me to stay pure.
Well, I don't know what to say, okay? I mean, this is, to me, probably one of the best testimonies we've had on here. Just listening to you is almost like I'm talking to, I mean, I know you're a grown woman and an adult. I look at you like my daughter, but it's just like you have so much wisdom, And then that wisdom that you have is coming from serving the Most High. It truly is. I mean, and you were set apart for His purpose, and you're going to be so powerful. Because you're already powerful now. Because, you know, I wouldn't ask you to teach at the conferences unless I know you're going to bring it. And, I mean, you just are far beyond your age. And I thank Yah for you. And I know He's going to be using you because right now, like you said, the things that you allow into your heart, which is your mind, like you said, not guarding your ears and your eyes, you know, allowing your children to just watch anything that comes on TV, not knowing what they're watching, not even caring what they're watching. What you watch, allow to come through your eyes and allow to come through your ears, you know, that goes into your soul. That, you know, those have still, the music has spirits on them. How many times have you listened to a love song about fornication, next thing you know, you want to go sleep with somebody?
Exactly.
You listen to those kind of, you know, you listen to that music, and that music draws you, and you wondering why I want to go and fornicate. Because you over here listening to R. Kelly. You over here listening to Drake or somebody, and you know, you wonder why you are acting the way you're acting. And it's no coincidence that Empire is like one of the #1 shows. And I've watched it. But I have to honestly say that after the season finale, I was ashamed, and I will not be watching Empire anymore. The Most High, I felt like, kind of dealt with me. I felt like I shouldn't have been, but I can see how easily. And me being as strong as I am, it had no influence on me, nor am I going to ever accept any type of homosexuality, you know, or, but most people are not strong as we are. Yeah. The average person is not as strong as we are. And when they they watch that show, you know, all it's doing now is it's softening the hearts of men to sin. That's all that show is doing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what it's doing. It's causing people to think that it's okay to accept this and that. And you see how they like to throw God in the middle of it. It's very blasphemous. You know, it's godless. They just talk about being gods and, you know, all this stuff that causes men who don't know the Most High to fall deeper into the same mindset as the way the whole world is going. Yeah. You know, we can't be sucked into those things. And even though, like you said, Shaitan, it isn't affecting us because I look at it and I think up ways to try to expose stuff. But at the same time, you're still allowing something to come in, you know. Even though we see homosexuality so much, even some of us are desensitized to it now. We're like, here we go with that again. It's not no shock anymore. And it should be a shock. We should be like, oh, my God, this is horrible. But we're all slowly desensitized because they do. You know, they slow motion you into sin. You don't get there already. They pick away at you until you just accept it. Yeah.
Yeah, basically now. I mean, that's why I say, you know, Autumn, I'm just like so proud of you. You brought me to tears. I had to put my phone on mute because I've been crying more than you. Because I don't hear that from our youth. You know, I'm in the field of education, and it just grieves me to see the young girls, the way they dress, the way they carry themselves, you know, their conversation of speech. I mean, you're just like the complete opposite. You're like a breath of fresh air. That's why you have women when you're at a conference trying to, you know, seeing if you're free to date their sons because they saw something in you. You know, if anybody can see that about you, and just a real man will be able to look at you and say, that's a real woman. That's a Proverbs 31 woman. If you don't have a Proverbs 31 woman one who is truly serving Yah, you don't have a real woman.
That's true.
Vice versa. You have so much respect for yourself, and even though you love your boyfriend or your ex, because I know him well too, and he's a really good person for what I have seen. But the fact that if you don't see right now that you can't get married at this point, or that's not where it's going at this point, the fact that you were able to see that and break it off before you were fornicating, because you kind of piggybacked almost like your story off of what I was just saying. There is no such thing as long-term boyfriend and girlfriend, because that leads to fornication.
But you know what else?
The fact that you two remained that long, because I just knew you two were going to get married, because you're just like a Ken and Barbie to me. I said, that's Ken and Barbie.
This is what I noticed that was something interesting that she said. She said, if it's not for now, instead of compromising and being impatient because things aren't moving fast enough, you were able to be patient. See, that's what the Most High requires of us. Everything is not us because we want it right now. Microwave society right now. A lot of things we have to be very, very, very long-suffering and patient. And sometimes it hurts, sometimes it's hard. But see, the blessing is in taking your time and doing it right. He's going to bless you just because of all of that. And you said, not for right now. So we agreed to wait. How many young people, 18, 19, talking about waiting? They can't wait to get out the car. Get out. Not trying to do nothing. They can't even wait to put the condom on. They just doing any old thing. They can't wait.
Hold on 1 second. I'm going to put everybody in the queue. If anybody have any questions for Autumn or just comments about today's show, the lesson, the discussion, please press *6 on your phone right now, because we're getting close to ending the show. So if anyone has any questions, if you have anything about that you would like to say about the testimony that you heard from Autumn, any questions for her. And so I have someone right now, area code 404, who has a question. I'm going to bring this person in. Shabbat Shalom. How are you? Welcome to Sword of Spirit.
Yes. How y'all doing again? I was listening to y'all last week, me and my brother, David.
Oh, hi. How are you?
Oh, I'm blessed and I'm fine. But the reason I wanted to get hold of y'all to let y'all know, ask y'all, do y'all know anything about tonight? It's the night that we supposed to be looking up in the sky, what it says in Genesis 1, 13 and 14. It's the 7th month. And the 7th moon will be out tonight when the sun goes down. And I know a lot of commandment keepers, they don't want to obey, but that's one of the things that they got to learn to obey. Yahshua said we got to obey all things. So that's just one more, follow the moon, and then, in the night when the sun goes down, will be the 7th month. After them.
Okay,
and just want to know that y'all know a little about that, because then in another 13 days will be Passover, and the next day will be the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And the Feast of Unleavened Bread is just another one of Yahshua's most holy days.
Well, I'll say this. We acknowledge Passover, and I acknowledge all of the feast days, but Passover is one that the Most High showed me. We cannot keep that here in the land. You have to be in the land where He chose as His name, which is Jerusalem. If you're not in Jerusalem, you can't keep a Passover in the land of captivity, and there are scriptures for that. We were in error with that, and I'll let Kim talk, because this was something that she, at a few shows, I shared with her, and she can share with you her brief testimony of how she came into that too.
Okay, but then when you do the Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, That's a holy day.
Yeah, all of his feasts are set apart days. Yes, they are. But we acknowledge them when we teach the understanding of them. So to rehearse them. But we cannot, there are certain feasts that we can and cannot keep in the land. You have to be in Jerusalem. The scriptures clearly state you cannot keep it anywhere, only in the place where he chose as his name, and that's Jerusalem. If we're not over in Israel, we can't keep it over here in America. And that was something the Most High brought me into that revelation, because we used to keep Passover over here, but we can't keep Passover unless or unleavened bread, unless we're in the land. We're not in the land. We're in the land of our captivity.
Okay.
You have to study out.
Okay. Did y'all do what it says in John 13 that about the washing of the feet? Now, we're supposed to do that now. See, some people can turn it around and say we don't have to keep the washing of the feet, but in my Bible, Yahweh Bible said that we must wash each other's feet. And that's another one of his feast days in his commandment.
All right, thank you. Did you have any questions for Autumn or anything went on?
No, I just like what she said, but next week I was going to get my brother, if y'all in mind, he going to elaborate on the Passover, why it must be done, and all the other feast days too. You know, we just can't say now. That's what some of the Sunday folk say about us. You know, why we got to go on the Sabbath. Well, the Sabbath is a sign between us and Yahshua. That's why we do it.
Oh, yeah, we're totally in agreement with it, but we're for all the feasts. We teach on it and we acknowledge them, but you have to do things the way that the Most High says to do them. If he says that you can only keep specific feast days within the land, then we can't do it over here. We can't keep Passover the way that we choose to keep Passover. We have to do it exactly the way that he says to do it. And if you're doing it any other way, he's not honoring that. So we're going to see if there are any other callers, because we could kind of want to stick on this topic. Next week, I am going to be teaching on Passover. We're going to acknowledge it, but we're not celebrating it over here. We cannot keep them
and
here.
I'm glad y'all said, because, you know, but what about the feast that I said, the feast of unleavened bread?
We'll talk about that next week. We're going to talk about that next week.
Thank you, ma'am.
We're going to talk about all of that next week. If you tune in next week, we're going to talk about that next week. That's going to be next week's lesson.
Yes, I will, but I'm going to be listening. I'm going to let my brother elaborate on the feast days, because he's staying large.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thanks for joining us, and it was good hearing from you again. Shabbat
shalom. Thank you, too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, so are there any other questions? Anyone else? If you have any questions for Autumn, myself, or just the show in general today, you can press star 6 on your phone now. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and end today's show, because we're going past. We're at the 2-hour mark, and I don't see any other questions. So, Prina, I'm going to have you. And again, Autumn, we thank you for coming on and sharing your powerful testimony. I can't wait for this to be put out on YouTube later on today. This is a show that I want all of the parents who have young children to listen to. So I'm going to be heavily promoting this particular show, because this needs to be out. So with that being said, Prina, can you go ahead and read?
Yes.
Close us out.
Okay, yes. Please forgive me if I get a little off. I got a cold. And David blessed Yah before all the eyes of all the congregation. And David said, "Blessed are you, O Yah, the Most High of Israel, our Father forever and ever. To you, O Yah, be the greatness and the power and the high esteem and the victory and the majesty, for all in the heavens and the earth belongs to you. O Yah, yours is the kingdom, and you lift up yourself to all as head. And the riches and honor come from before you, and you rule over all. And in your hand is power and might, and it is in your hand to make great and to give strength unto all. And now, our Most High, we are giving thanks to you and giving praise to your high esteemed name. O Yah, the Most High of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, our fathers. Keep this forever for the intent of the thoughts of the heart of your people, and prepare their hearts towards you. In Yeshua's name, so be it.
All right. So we thank everyone for joining us this Shabbat. Thank you so much for spending your Sabbath with us. We pray and hope that today's lesson, as well as Autumn's testimony and even our panel discussion, was a blessing to you, that you got something from it today. And we ask that you share this broadcast. We broadcast every Sabbath from 2 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to leave you today with a very special Shabbat Shalom. We thank you for joining us. Have a blessed day.